to be back here when January seemed so dire, when no one gave me any hope of winning the convention, much less getting here, because, I announced so late and all of my other fellow Republican opponents had already jumped in long before. No money, no endorsements. So, yeah, it's amazing. And I just like to say it's a God thing.
I love to say America's given more second chances to more people than any country ever, including my family that fled from Cuba.
While my name is on the ballot, it's your name on there with me. This is about us.
Welcome to tonight's special edition of CPAC on the Road. We're also having exclusive election coverage, big races here in Virginia, as well as New Jersey, and some other races across the country. Matt, what's your prediction tonight?
Well, first of all, we're in the office, so I don't know what this on the road thing is, but I know what you mean.
You know why? Because we've had Caitlin and several of our team members going out there covering these Youngkin rallies. There was one in Alexandria, Virginia.
It's huge.
In our neighborhood. It was amazing. It was at 7:30 in the morning, and it was over 300 people. So I really think the momentum seems to be on Youngkin's side. And let me just read you some poll numbers. The Real Clear Politics, Youngkin 48.5, McCullough 46.8, 50-38. You have Youngkin 47.9, McCullough 47.
We can put the polls up on the screen to make sure you see them, but the key is that the momentum's all on the Youngkin side. If you look at the polls for the last 6 weeks, he was a couple points behind. Some polls had him tied, but he's had a very lasting, strong performance in these polls. I mean, for 4 weeks it was essentially tied. Now he's definitely up a couple of points. Here's the problem in blue Virginia. You got to be up a couple of points or more if you're a Republican to win. So, I'm cautiously optimistic, but very concerned that the Democrats' strategy of stuffing illegal votes in boxes will be very apparent today.
But there's no question that the McCullough campaign has run a purely negative campaign trying to link Youngkin to President Trump. That has failed miserably. Obviously, I think McCullough's moment where it destroyed his campaign is when he said that parents should not be involved in schools. So this issue of education has really taken hold, and the parents are the ones in these suburban areas saying no more, we're protecting our children against this leftist radicalized agenda.
A couple of points here. The first point being that this is a low turnout election, so this could very easily be a sub 50% turnout. And what you're seeing on the Democratic side is a total discouragement with their candidate. Terry McAuliffe is a second timer. He's running to be governor again, which just doesn't happen in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He seems old. His ideas seem recycled.
Right.
We were laughing the other day, he's kind of doing this crazy dancing. He just looks a little off in this race. So the Democratic enthusiasm is really down. All of this critical race theory, the war on gender, sexualizing our children, the cover-up of a rape. I mean, how terrible is that? Actually, there was 2 episodes. This is in Loudoun County, a county that was reliably Republican and had become a swing county. Now, so it's critical to see that this suburb county might be trending back the Republicans' way. So tonight, if you see low turnout in these returns, that's probably a good thing for Glenn Youngkin, because what it means is the socialists just aren't too excited about their man.
I wouldn't be. And, we are going to be looking at what's happening in Loudoun County. Obviously, Northern Virginia is going to be key because, as we know, President Biden did very well in the Northern Virginia area in Fairfax County. Obviously, also looking to see what happens in Richmond. That's at least the counties I'm going to be looking at and the cities I'm going to be looking at. What about you?
Yeah, Henrico County, the counties around Richmond, Northern Virginia. See if out of nowhere you have some returns that don't get put in it. They say there's delays. That's a bad indicator, folks. We've gone to this movie. We know how that movie ends. The other side of this is the Republicans are completely unified. You have MAGA Nation, you have the conservative movement, which essentially is the Republican Party. Between MAGA and the conservatives, that's Republicans. But there are a lot of moderate Republicans in Northern Virginia and Charlottesville, and that coalition is very unified.
Yeah.
The Democrats, on the other hand, they're split. Look at this budget bill. Moderates and socialists on the other coalition, they're at war with each other. So if there was ever a time for a Republican to win in Virginia, you have to have a Democratic president. Check. That Democratic president has to be unpopular. check. And then you have to have issues besides the standard old ones of guns and abortion and taxes, something new in the political stew, and that is this outlandish education absurdity that's going on at these state school boards. So, check.
I do want to get just 30 seconds, your reaction. You put out this tweet. I was told at my polling station, by the way, I was with him when he was going to vote, I couldn't vote without a mask. Knowing what the GOP thinks about masks, isn't this just an illegal barrier to voting? But I can count on one thing, our judges will do nothing.
So in America, we have been down this road. You cannot use minor reasons to prevent somebody from voting. There used to be a poll tax that would prevent poor people from voting, which turned into just a racial thing, right? And then there was a literacy test, which was about keeping uneducated people from voting. But that really was about Jim Crow and a race thing. And what the court and what the Congress has reiterated over and over and over again is the right to vote is so fundamental to who you are as a human being, they simply can't prevent you from voting. They can't say you don't have shoes on. They can't say you don't have a mask on. They certainly can't say you're the wrong color. They can't say any of that stuff. So this, to me, is the mask mandate of today is an inhibitor and a barrier for those of us who are just kind of exhausted about masks. And I think DOJ needs to say something, and I challenge them to do that.
All right, well, I'm sure they won't respond, but Schlapp, I think you make a great point. But I am so excited. We want to show you this incredible footage that our team has gone around Virginia, capturing it, all these Youngkin rallies and speaking with some of the great candidates, Republican candidates, Winsome Sears, Jason Miyares. Take a look.
The amazing thing is that I've been traveling all around this great Commonwealth of Virginia and telling everybody I didn't think there were any Republicans in Old Town Alexandria. Well, good morning and thank you for being here, and you can feel what's happening across the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're going to go win this thing. One of the things I got to ask you to do before we go is go sign the bus. We've been traveling around with tens of thousands of Virginians. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, we have tens of thousands of Virginians with us everywhere we go, so sign the bus. Friends, this is our moment. It's a defining moment for Virginia right now. It's our moment to redefine our trajectory, where we can soar, not settle. Not just for Virginians, but for America. America is watching this race every single minute. One of the most amazing things is the texts and emails that I get every day from folks all over this country. Glenn, stand up for our children too. Glenn, our children need your help because Virginia is voting for us. And it is that clear. It's that clear. On one side of the ballot is Terry McAuliffe, who thinks that government should stand between parents and their children, who thinks that government should tell you whether your employer should fire you or keep you. He thinks that government should force you to join a union. He thinks that he can raise taxes without telling you about it. Friends, that's government control. On the other side of the ballot is Virginians' freedom. On the other side of the ballot, and let me tell you, while my name is on the ballot, it's your name on there with me. This is about us. This is about us. Friends, right now, we have 4 days to get this done. 4 days. 4 days to decide the future of our Commonwealth for our children, for our grandchildren, for our nieces, for our nephews, for our neighbors. This is no longer a campaign. It is a movement being led by Virginians to stand up against left, liberal, progressive policies. What is most amazing, it is not Democrats versus Republicans anymore. This is not people standing around holding up certain political philosophies. This is Virginians coming together and defining a new way forward for our Commonwealth. Now, you may not have seen the latest polls, but I have. And what they tell us is that we are winning the independent votes by double digits. We're bringing people together.
To be back here when January seemed so dire, when no one gave me any hope of winning the convention, much less getting here, because, you know, I announced so late and all of my other fellow Republican opponents had already jumped in long before. No money, no endorsement. So, yeah, it's amazing, and I just like to say it's a God thing. When I set out in this campaign, I said that we needed to bring in new voters, and certainly we did, because we kept hitting a wall in Virginia. You know, we would hit 45 with our candidates, whether the presidential, whether statewide. We couldn't get past 45. And so we needed, you know, Asian voters, Latino voters, black voters to grow the party. And I thought, that's me, you know. I'm lighting the candle, or I could curse the darkness. I choose to light the candle. So here I am. Glenn is doing the bus tour, so Jason, the RS, who's running for Attorney General, and myself running for Lieutenant Governor, we're all on the bus with him, and we have several stops. I hear the bus down there now because I hear the big cheers, because, you know, hey, we've got momentum. We're going to do this thing, baby, because we have to. We have to bring sensibility back, common sense back. We've got to stop the racial division. Constant, you know. Now we have the vaccination division, us versus them. And there's only one party who loves to do that, and that's the Democrats, because then they can swoop in as the political savior. We don't need that. We just need to all get along, as Rodney King said. If there's one of me, there's more of me. But they already know that because they saw Brexit. They saw so many things happening in the black community that we're not satisfied, and we're finally figuring out that, you know, every 4 years, Democrats come around, again, wanting to save us, wanting to give us a fish, when what we want is to be left alone, and we want to be taught how to do the fish, you know, so that we can feed ourselves forever. So things are changing. Take hope. Things are looking up.
We are bringing people into the same room that have never thought they would get together over the most important issues, friends. My opponent's running around talking about things that Virginians are going, what are you talking about, Terry? Quit bringing all these people into Virginia. We don't even know who they are. We are running as Virginians. And as we go to the polls, and as we make our decision for the future of this Commonwealth and the future of our children, it is very clear that Virginians are tired of this political rhetoric. They're tired of these games they're playing. They're tired of trying to pit people against one another. And we are unifying Virginia like never before. Like never before. Friends, people ask me all the time, they say, Glenn, what are we going to do on day one? What's going to happen? And let me be very clear, here's what's going to happen. On that day, on January 15th, Jason Miyares is as our next Attorney General. And Winsome Sears is our next Lieutenant Governor. And we get to stand under Mr. Jefferson's portico and place our hand on an holy Bible, and we get to swear to God Almighty to protect our Constitution of this great United States of America. And we get to protect our Constitution of this great Commonwealth of Virginia. And then we get to walk down those stairs, and we're going to stop for a minute and have a moment of prayer. And we're going to thank the Lord for watching over us. We're going to thank Him for providing for us. We're going to thank Him for the amazing support to walk the path He's put in front of us. Then we're going to ask Him for strength to go forward, and then we're going to say amen, and then we're going to work on day one. And on day one, we are going to get the cost of living in Virginia down because it's too expensive to live here. We will cut taxes. We all know it. We all know it. The left, liberal, progressive leaders in Richmond have overtaxed us by $2.6 billion last year. They're going to do it again. That's your money, not Terry McAuliffe's. So on day one, we're going to declare the largest tax rebate in the history of Virginia. We're going to eliminate the grocery tax. We're going to double our standard deductions, and friends, we're going to suspend the most recent increase in the gas tax because gas prices are already too high. Finally, friends, we're going to work for our veterans. We're only one of a handful of states that taxes our veterans' retirement. I mean, we all know freedom is not free. And our veterans have stood up and protected that freedom. And so over the next 3 years, we're going to build up to $40,000 of our veterans' retirements that we will not tax in Virginia. All in, it'll be worth about $1,400, almost $1,500 for a family of 4 in year one. My opponent, he's got hundreds of pages of policies. It's going to cost Virginians $16 billion, $5,400 per family. Friends, it is your money. I'm going to make sure that you keep more of it in your pocket. On day one, we're going to work for our schools, and we're reestablishing expectations of excellence. When my opponent was governor, 88 schools failed to reach their accreditation. And rather than do the hard work, what did he do? He just changed the rules so not one would fail. Today in Virginia, we're ranked 50th in the nation when it comes to standards to progress in school, 50th in math and reading. That's why our children are falling behind. The most recent test scores showed that 55% of Virginia's white children can't pass an 8th grade math equivalency test. 70% of our Latino children and 80% of our black children. Friends, the gap is totally unacceptable, but the order of magnitude of these numbers is shocking. This is the legacy that Terry McAuliffe left us. We should call his school program, "Let's Leave Every Child Behind," because that's what's happening. Friends, we're going to work on day one. First, we will declare that schools will never be closed again. 5 days in person education. We're going to raise expectations and then fund in the largest education budget in the history of Virginia. We're going to raise teacher salaries, fund into crumbling buildings, and fund special education. Virginia's kids with disabilities have suffered mightily during this pandemic, and they deserve increased funding. But then we're going to work to introduce choice into our public schools with the most aggressive charter school program in the history of Virginia. Virginia has 8 charter schools in the entire Commonwealth. 8. Maryland has 140. North Carolina has 190. We have 8. And so on day one, we will announce the formation of 20 charter schools as a down payment to close this gap. We will have choice in our public schools. But friends, we know it all starts with curriculum. That's where it starts. And so let me be very clear what we will do. We will teach accelerated math in Virginia schools. We will award advanced diplomas. We will teach all history, the good and the bad. All of it. We know America's the greatest country on the planet. We have an amazing history. We also have some abhorrent chapters in our history. We must teach it all so we know where we have come from, so we know where we will not go. But what we will not do is teach our children to view everything through a lens of race. We won't. And we won't pit them against each other and steal their dreams. It runs directly in the face of those immortal words of Dr. Martin Luther King, where he implored us to be better than ourselves. He implored us to judge one another based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin. And we all know this is right. We know we have to come together and not be divided, and so on day one, I will ban critical race theory from being in our schools. On day one, we're going to work for law enforcement because they have our back and we have to have theirs. We're at a 20-year high in murder rate in Virginia. 4 of our great cities are ranked in the top 65 deadliest cities in America, with Richmond at number 11, racing back to number 1. My opponent doesn't care. He wouldn't even meet with the Police Benevolent Association to talk about it. That's why law enforcement has wholesale endorsed us. We have 50 sheriffs that have endorsed us. 4 have switched parties. And I will tell you right now that Jason Miyares is going to be the best top cop as Attorney General that Virginia has ever seen. He's going to go to work for you. So on day one, we have to stand up for safer neighborhoods. We're going to comprehensively fund law enforcement, higher salaries, better equipment, funded training. We're going to protect qualified immunity. We must invest in our mental health system. It's broken. It's been broken for 8 years. And finally, friends, I'm going to fire the entire parole board on day one and start on day one. We're going to get this economy moving again. We are stalled out and we have to get going. Over the last 8 years, Virginia's economy has been lapped by the states around us. Maryland, North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia. They have grown 70% faster than Virginia for 8 years straight. 8 years straight. North Carolina generated 8 times the jobs that Virginia has. Tennessee, 6 times the jobs that Virginia has over the last 8 years. I will tell you, friends, in the world I came from, if the head of a business was getting lapped like that, he got fired, not rehired. So we're going to work on day one, and I will declare that Virginia is open for business. No lockdowns, no shutdowns. We're open for business. We are going to protect our right to work status. We will not force people to join unions. This is not an anti-union comment, it's a pro-worker comment. My opponent stared at the camera and he said when that bill comes to his desk to get rid of right to work, he will sign it. And friends, the Virginia Economic Development Partnership told us that if we lose right to work, it will absolutely crush Virginia's business climate. $11 billion of lost investment, nearly 40,000 lost jobs. Why did Terry McAuliffe do this? It's because he's bought and paid for by the unions. They put millions of dollars into his campaign. Hear me right now. I am not bought and paid for. I'm doing the right stuff. But we got to get growing. We got to get growing. Growth will solve so many problems. And so on day one, we're going to cut 25% of job-killing regulations. There's 37,000 pages in the Virginia Code. Try printing that out at home. Friends, we're going to declare a 12-month tax holiday for small businesses so that you can keep your profits and grow and invest in employment. We are going to press forward with job training so that all Virginians can find a career, whether they go to college or go straight to work. And we have to teach Virginia to be entrepreneurs and innovators again. We are ranked 49th in the nation as best place to start a business. Only Connecticut is worse. I have been to Connecticut. We do not want to be Connecticut.
I love to say America's given more second chances to more people than any country ever, including my family that fled from Cuba. And so we want to preserve the last best hope on earth. We want to preserve what makes America such a unique beacon of freedom and life for so many people. And that's what part of the reason why we're running right now. Well, it's just 90 miles off our shores, but you can't see a bigger difference. I mean, I was speaking to a high school group and they said what I thought about socialism. And I said, well, listen, the year Fidel Castro took power in Cuba, Cuba had the same GDP as Italy. And the year he died, they had the same GDP as Sudan. It went from being one of the wealthiest countries in Latin America to one of the poorest, just like Venezuela. And it's amazing the people that are most against socialism are the people whose families have experienced socialism. And so that's what we don't want in America. We want to keep exactly what has made America such a unique, amazing place to live. And that's part of the reason why it's so thrilling to work with Winston, who has an amazing immigrant story, as you know, from Jamaica. And Glenn Youngkin, who's one of the most relentlessly optimistic people you will ever meet in your life. It's just fantastic. We're ready to go work for Virginia. Well, you know, a lot of this is what we're talking about. We're saying this isn't a campaign, it's a movement. It's not even so much as left versus right as much as just common sense. It's common sense we should have safe schools. It's common sense that you don't pass bills and laws that say we're no longer going to report, sexual assaults to police in our schools. It's common sense that, hey, the parole board shouldn't have let out violent criminals. And so in my race, if you want somebody who's been trained as a politician, Mark Herring's your candidate. If you want somebody who's been trained as a prosecutor like me, I'm your candidate.
Friends, so we have to have accelerators and incubators and capital formation and make it easier to start a business so the dreams of Virginians are fulfilled here and not someplace else. Our plan together, and let me be clear, anybody who stands up and says governors create jobs doesn't understand that businesses and people create jobs. My job will be to work with you, and together we have a plan to create 10,000 new startups and 400,000 new jobs in Virginia. We're getting back to work, Virginia. And finally, on that day one agenda, it's going to be a busy day. It's a busy day, but there will be a day 2, a day 3, and a day 4. But on day 1, we're going to make government work for us and stop telling us what to do all the time. It all starts with standing up for our constitutional rights. Friends, Patrick Henry stood on steps like this and he blocked the ratification of this Constitution written by James Madison. He blocked it because he demanded there was a Bill of Rights. A Bill of Rights to protect our individual freedoms against big government overreach. A Bill of Rights that was based on Virginia's Bill of Rights, written by George Mason. And friends, does this sound familiar? Because right now our individual freedoms are being trampled on and we got to go to work on day 1. I can't believe the fact that our First Amendment right has been discarded. When this governor opened up ABC stores and kept my church closed, I knew he didn't understand our rights. When the FBI was called in to silence parents for standing up for their children, I knew they didn't understand our rights. Hear me right now. Winsome Sears, Jason Miyares, and I are going to go to fight for you and push back on Washington overreach. But I have to share with you, I have a big pet peeve. I can't stand inefficiency and waste, and here I am going into government. So on day 1, we're launching a statewide audit of every government department to root out waste, to root out fraud, increase transparency. And let me tell you where we're starting. We're starting with the Virginia Employment Commission and the Department of Motor Vehicles. And here's how you're going to know we're making progress, because you will call the DMV and 2 things will happen. Number 1, somebody will answer the phone. And number 2, they will say, "Hi, how may I help you?" Friends, government is supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people. It's going to stop telling us what to do all the time. Here we stand right now, 4 days away from redefining the future of Virginia. 4 days away from standing up for our children. 4 days away from sending a shockwave across this country and waking everybody up. Virginia will not stand by. And on that day, we will redefine a soaring Virginia, not a settling Virginia. Virginia where the Virginia promise is realized by all of us. Friends, but this can't happen without all of you. This is not about Winsome. This is not about Jason. This is not about me. This is about us. And I got to tell you, look at us. We're pretty awesome. But this is not a spectator sport. No! It's not. Our democracy is a participatory democracy, which means we all have to go to work together. So I got to ask you for 5 things. 5 things right now. Number 1, get out and vote. And I need you to bring 10 friends. 10 friends. I need you to get 10 friends who aren't here. 10 friends who will vote the right way and get them out to vote. Friends, I'm not kidding. Call them, text them. Be responsible for 10 people. Second of all, I need you to put these red signs in your yard. In your yard. Hey friends, I was just in Charlottesville, Virginia. I didn't know that there were Republicans in Charlottesville, Virginia. And there are red signs on every street corner. It's amazing. Third thing we need from you is we need volunteers. We are staffing this election like no election's ever been staffed. We have over 5,000 volunteers, but we need more. We need to man 2,540 odd polls on voting day. We need folks that will be election officials. We need folks that will be observers. We need people who will hand out sample ballots. I'm not kidding. This isn't a moment where you say, maybe I'll make time, maybe I'll find time. This is a moment for you to say, I will make 2 hours, 4 hours of my time to be in my democracy to make Virginia change. We need you. And here's how you do it. You go to your local county, Alexandria City GOP, Arlington GOP, Fairfax GOP, and sign up to get involved. Fourth thing is we need ambassadors, all of you. Jason, Winsome, and I, we are interviewing all across this Commonwealth to get hired. We want you to hire us to go work for you. But we can't meet all 8.5 million Virginians. We're trying. We're trying. We got a bunch of them already signed our bus, but we need you to extend our network, be our ambassadors. Talk to your friends. You know what we're going to do. We're going to get our taxes down. We're going to have the best jobs, best schools, safe communities, government that works for us. Friends, spread the word. Finally, and I don't want to presuppose or anybody is in their own faith walk, but if you have a prayer list, put us on it. This is the time. This is the time. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty awesome to be out here this morning. I just wanted to do some shopping.